And we're coming to the point where you can just now start to get a sense of how to interpret a chart, because we've already gone over the planets. So all the previous videos we've done, make sure you've taken good notes, that you've done your best to commit to memory. What do the planets represent naturally, their natural tendencies? What do they represent as indicators for particular people or situations or circumstances within life? And once you have that in your mind, then you can start applying these to the houses, which will be our next set of videos. So go back, review the videos on the planets or the talks on the planets, commit them to memory, and then you'll be prepared to start getting a sense of, well, now that we see that the Sun is in the 9th house, or we see that Mars is in the 5th house, what can that mean? So you'll be overlaying what you learned about the planets, putting them into the houses generally. That's where we're going to start. We went over planetary dignity, also planetary friendships. It is the dignity of the planets that allows us to see how well is a planet going to be able to share its innate qualities with the house that it's in. So you need to know the innate qualities of the planets too. And the innate qualities aren't, it's not like Jupiter represents the guru. Jupiter representing the guru, that's Jupiter as a karaka, as an indicator for a specific thing. The innate qualities of a planet are like Jupiter allows a person to find meaning in that area of life represented by that house. Jupiter allows a person to have wisdom about the things in which the house that it's placed. So wisdom, higher knowledge, these more less concrete aspects of the planets, those are the innate qualities. Mars can represent soldiers. Mars can represent engineers, logicians. That's Mars as a karaka. Mars's innate qualities can be impatience, burning things, cutting things, causing frustration, giving a person skills in logic, so they can be very logical about the house in which Mars is placed. Problem solving, these aren't concrete things. And that's what planetary dignity is going to help us see on this first level. Meaning that if Mars is in the 6th house and it's in good dignity, the person can be very logical about how they deal with their health or how they deal with their enemies. If Mars is in bad dignity in the 6th house, then that will show us that the person probably picks fights that aren't worth picking, or they're not logical about how they approach their health, or they're impatient, or Martian qualities cause them health problems, such as needing to have surgery, getting burnt, getting cut, these things. So let's just go over those briefly. So first of all, the Sun. What does the Sun represent in a general fashion? It represents consistency. It represents the ability to manage things intelligently. The Sun is intelligence. It can show how we approach our status or our authority in life. So these are things that if the Sun is in a particular house, those would be helpful if the Sun is in good dignity. If the Sun is in the 9th house and in good dignity, this can give a person consistency in their dharma or consistency in their marriage, or maybe they're able to intelligently manage their marriage or their dharma. You see what we're doing here? So we'll go on. Again, taking notes hopefully. Write this stuff down so you can go back and review it. And remember that writing things down helps to further get it into your consciousness. Listening to me talk about it's fine, but writing it down gets it into your consciousness. Rereading it gets it in your consciousness, and then looking at charts. So after we go through this, get a chart out. Maybe not your chart. Again, you know, I recommend looking at charts of people that aren't you, so that you can be more objective about it. People that you know fairly well, and see, well, where is the Sun placed? What house is that in? Is this person consistent in that area? Do they have the ability to manage things intelligently in that area represented by that house? And if you have The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, that book, you can go ahead and skip ahead to the houses and just read about the houses so that you get a sense of it, because that's what we're going to be going over next. But anyway, enough of repeating myself. So first of all, Sun represents consistency, the ability to manage things intelligently, and it shows our ability to manage our status in life. or our authority in life. The moon, the innate qualities or general indications of the moon are adaptability, the capacity to nurture. It can also show popularity. You get a good moon in the 5th house, that can show that you have the capacity to be adaptable with children. 5th house is children, or with your creativity. It can show that you have the capacity to nurture children. Again, if this is in good dignity. If the moon is in bad dignity, enemies, great enemies, debilitation, then the capacity to nurture or to be adaptable goes down. So it's the opposite. Mars. This is the ability to be logical, to know what is correct, instinct, sense of right and wrong. It's proper judgment, the ability to take initiative and action. And so wherever Mars is placed, good dignity, these things will be strong in that area of life. Bad dignity, not so much. And whenever we say bad dignity, just take those positive things and make it go the other way. Using Mars, ability to be logical, know what is correct. Well, if Mars is in your 9th again, then you know how to logically deal with your marriage, how to make a marriage work, and you know what is correct and appropriate behavior to have a successful marriage. That's Mars in good dignity in the 9th house. Mars in bad dignity in the 9th house. That can show a person who picks fights in their marriage, who doesn't know the right thing to do in marriage, who doesn't have an instinct to be supportive of marriage, and who might think that illogical things are right. So it's the inverse when planets are in bad dignity of what we're talking about. Mercury. This deals with enjoyment, being able to enjoy life, curiosity, friendliness, the ability to relate, the capacity to get the best deal, communication, management and organization. If we have Mercury in the 10th, then the person can be very friendly in their career and their activity in the world. They get good deals when it comes to working with others in career. They're able to communicate well their needs, their activities within career, and they're able to manage and organize their career well. If you know people who they like their work, they're curious about it, they manage their work and their family life well, they've got a good balance, well, Mercury might be in their 10th house in good dignity. Other way around, remember it's the reverse. Jupiter. This is knowledge and wisdom, the capacity to see the bigger picture, to see where things fit together. It's a sense of fulfillment and understanding that there is something greater at work. Jupiter deals with philosophy and beliefs, and it deals with our capacity to be creative. Again, Jupiter in good dignity in the 3rd house. Well, the 3rd house can deal with our peers, our siblings. So do we get a sense of fulfillment interacting with our peers? Do we share similar beliefs with our peers? Do we feel that since the 3rd house deals with hobbies and things that we're also interested in, maybe we see how our hobbies fit into the bigger picture and that our hobbies are able to bring us wisdom or understanding about the world. So there's kind of a loose way of applying that with Jupiter in the 3rd. Might not have been the best example, but you get the idea. Wherever Jupiter is, there'll be a sense of wisdom, a sense of understanding, and broad-mindedness. Venus. Venus deals with the ability to make good decisions that lead to higher fulfillment. It is also adaptability and comfort, similar to the moon. Diplomacy, fairness. All these things are indicated by Venus, which means that whatever house Venus is in, that might be a place where a person finds comfort. Again, Venus in good dignity. It might be a place where a person really makes good decisions in life. So having Venus in the 10th in good dignity, that can be excellent for career. Venus in the 1st, that can give a comfortable body. So a person, they feel good in their body. Venus in good dignity. They'll make good decisions about supporting their body. Venus in bad dignity, they won't feel comfortable in their body, or they won't feel that they're able to be in a good space within their mind, their consciousness. Not their mind so much, maybe their personality, that's a better term. Venus on the ascendant would make a person very diplomatic. The personality would be diplomatic. Venus in bad dignity on the ascendant can make a person somewhat manipulative, because Venus likes to see people get their fair share, But when Venus is in bad dignity, they'll manipulate that so that they get their fair share. Now Saturn. Saturn generally represents suffering, debts, delays, the ability to stay focused, the ability to do what needs to be done for success, and endurance. And I found that wherever Saturn is placed, even if it's in good dignity, that can show a place where we're taking care of our karma, meaning that's where our duty lies. We don't necessarily want to do it. Some people might, but we don't necessarily want to do it, but we have a responsibility to that area of life represented by the house in which Saturn is in, which sometimes make people suffer because you have to pay off these debts, you have to pay off these past life debts so that you get beyond the delays indicated by Saturn. So look where Saturn is in your chart. What house is it in? Do you notice debts, delays in that house? You're not feeling fulfilled. Are there things that you have to do where you're not getting rewarded? You have to do them so that you pay off that karmic debt so then you can be successful. So look at that with Saturn. Wherever he is, it seems like it's punishing you, but it indicates that that's an area of life where you've got some karmic debt that you need to work off. And when you're working off a debt, you're not getting paid for that. So it seems like you're spinning your wheels, but you put attention towards it. Eventually, working with Saturn, you fulfill that debt. Saturn also represents like coldness, lameness, stiffness. So if you know how the houses represent to the body parts, wherever Saturn can be placed, that can show where there's coldness within the body, or where there is stiffness within the body. Or if you've got Saturn in the fourth house, maybe you have a cold house. Fourth house representing house, or fourth house representing vehicles. Those areas can suffer from cold. Just like Mars represents heat and fire. Now Rahu and Ketu, these are strange planets as we've already gone over. But remember, with Rahu and Ketu, to figure out are they going to work good, positively or negatively, you need to look at their dignity. And if you need to know more about that, please go back to this channel, Asheville, VedicAstrology.com. Pardon me, that's my website. Go to youtube.com/Ryan's Vedic Astrology, this channel, and review past videos on Rahu and Ketu, because I know you're going to ask me questions about that I've already covered, so go back and review those. Now, Rahu generally creates confusion, and he can show where we don't have much experience, so we have to develop that experience. Positively, Rahu can make a person innovative. Rahu can deal with lies and manipulation. So when Rahu is positive, maybe the person uncovers lies and manipulation. If it's negative, they're more prone to them. And again, based on the dignity of the planet. Ketu represents liberation. It shows our innate talents and skills, meaning whatever house Ketu is placed in, whatever skills or talents or indications of that house, we will have developed very strongly in past lifetimes. And while we're not going to get fulfillment through it, because that's what Ketu does, we will have natural capacity for it. Example, one woman I worked with, and actually other people where I've seen Ketu in the 7th house, this woman made a joke. She said, getting married isn't a problem, it's staying married, which is very true with Ketu in the 7th, because having all that past skill relating to others, it's easy getting involved, but it's keeping it that makes the difference. Okay, so these are the planets, their innate qualities. Remember, if a planet is in good dignity, those qualities will help to support the house. And you have to know, what does that house represent to know this house is going to get supported by Jupiterian things. This house is going to get supported by Venusian things, which means that whatever that house indicates, that area of life is going to get supported by these things. If the planets are in bad dignity, then the inverse is true. That house is not supported by that planet, and that planet actually causes problems. So go back and review what we have each of these planets naturally giving, and think about the negative of it. And it would be those negative things that manifest in that area of life. And this is the tricky part when you're doing a reading for someone, because, going back to the example of Mars, if Mars is in the 6th and it's in bad dignity, the person might think that what they're doing for their health is very good, when really it's actually hurting them. because they're not logical about it. So you have to think about things in that way, that what you see might not make sense to the person you're talking to because they're used to it, which means they usually think they're right. So to say that Venus is in the 7th house and it's in bad dignity, which would tell me this person might manipulate their relationships because they're not feeling fulfilled in their relationships. And usually the way they'll interpret that is, the other person just doesn't understand me. So you have to figure out a way, how do you get across this negative side and say, you might need to work on this fact that you're not being fair in relationships or you're being manipulative. How do you deliver that to someone and have them say, yeah, sure, that's true. Some people have self-awareness and they're open to that, but always remember, when you're looking at the planets, you need to realize that what a person's experience is in life is natural to them. Meaning that being illogical about something, it's not in their mind because they think they're logical. They think the rest of the world is wrong. I always treat this as though we are drunk on our karma. If you've ever dealt with an alcoholic, or if you've ever dealt with someone with addiction problems, you know that you can't talk sense to them until they hit bottom. So we're drunk on our karma, meaning that just like the drunk person thinks they're right, sure they can drive home, or sure this is a good idea at the time until they sober up, then they realize it's the same thing. When we don't have enough self-awareness, we think, being drunk on our karma, that what we're doing is the way it should be, or the correct thing to do. Sometimes it is, but that'll all be dependent on the dignity of the planet. And again, this is why meditation and a spiritual practice that detaches you from your karma, allows you to see what you are as the self, the infinite consciousness, manifesting as all these individualized aspects of the divine. That's why it's so important, because when you're able to do that, then you get more distance between you and your karma, and it's like sobering you up so that you can decide, is this important? Does this make sense? Is it good to follow this, depending on what my goals are? Or is this just going to lead to more difficulties? And what are the planets you can check for that? We'll look at Jupiter and Venus. If a person has a great Venus, through particular Vargas, they'll make good decisions, so they won't be as drunk there. Same thing with Jupiter. They'll be able to see the wisdom in things. Venus and Jupiter aren't so good, then it makes it a little bit harder to get that point across. You can still do it, but you have to be a little more tactful about it and find a way to talk through the drunkenness of our karma. It's a good term. Okay. So next up, we'll be looking at the planets, for real this time. I know I've been alluding to that, but there's always something that seems to come up I need to talk about. And with the planets in the houses, think about these innate qualities, how they overlay into each house. And then when we start talking about the houses, we can start considering even how do house lords combine. It's a little more advanced, and this is something we went into in the step-by-step astrology class, which is available now as a video download, which is excellent. It took me a while to get that going, but it's a 16-hour video class that goes through a step-by-step fashion of how to assess a person's chart house by house. Now again, it does require quite a bit of previous knowledge. It'd probably be best to wait until we actually finish this course before you would take it. And I also advise that you take the other courses that led up to it, the 101 course, the Lajatati Avashta's course, the Navamsha and Dasamsha course, and the Myth and Magic course. All those will line you up for understanding this advanced course, the step-by-step Vedic Astrology course. But anyway, you'll get there, and you'll enjoy it, I believe. But for now, just keep taking notes, keep moving forward, and keep contemplating in a curious way. Don't get stressed about this. If this is starting to stress you out, stop. Go do something fun. If astrology is stressful for you, it's not worth it. You need to be curious about it. When you're curious, learning happens quicker. When you're stressed, it's like you're trying to prove a point, or you're trying not to see a particular karma, which gets in the way of actually doing the work correctly. So anyway, we'll move on, and look forward to being in touch. Thanks.